Okay, everyone, it's wonderful to be here with all of you today. And I'm very excited about today's topic because we're going to talk about our minds and the wellness of our minds. We're going to go a little bit into what you can do about it, which is the wellness coaches part. But I really want you to get off this call today and be able to find people who cultivate entrepreneurial resilience, because I can promise you, many people come into the circle of excellence looking for business counsel and all those things. But I'll tell you, the amount of times we end up having conversations about the mind and the wellness of the mind is staggering. And please don't think because I'm bringing you this message that I got my own mind sorted out. It's a lifelong journey for all of us. None of us will ever get to the point where we, like they use the words mind mastery, where we master the mind. I think it's something that happens over and over again and gets refined over and over again. But this is a step in the right direction. I'm dealing with a lot of people at the moment that's suffering big time. And the suffering is not necessarily because of what's happening out there in the world. The suffering is because of the things that happens in your inner world, the things that people are telling themselves, the things that people believe about themselves. And I think we would be ignorant if we in this time try and do things all by ourselves. The idea is to have a ring of steel around you. We've spoken about the ring of steel before. And so today we're going to look at things like understanding balance a little bit more and why balance is so important. It's such a generic word, but I'm going to put that in a bit more context for you. We're going to talk about business as a living entity, why maybe other reasons why your business may not be working, which is non-business related things. We're going to talk about managing your well-being, the type of wellness coaches out there, and a bit of resilience resources, which is really the part that I want to get to. So we are basically on module 4. This is lesson 5, but we're part of a bigger series here that is about, building a team around you and talent around you and not having to do everything on your own. If you are doing that, if you're a person who struggled to ask for advice or you're a person who struggled to reach out for help, I want to really encourage you to start looking at this and go, you can't go at things alone all your life. You have to form part of a bigger team. When we were in many, many, many lifetimes ago, our ancestors all came from a space of family units or beehives, and it's funny, the place I'm sitting in at the moment is called the hive. So we're used to having people around us. We're used to being sort of the center of our universe, and then you have people around us supporting us. So when we talk about mindset today, I'm not saying you have to figure it out all on your own. And start thinking about the people that you have around you and the ring of steel that you have around you. So today we're specifically talking about wellness and about wellness coaching. So let's just understand balance first, because it's so incredibly important. When you were a child, for most of you, you had to learn to ride a bicycle. And I want to take you back to that moment. And remember when you got on the first time. I don't know how many of you were like me, but I mean, the amount of times I fell off a bike was incredible. And I remember standing on this thing and just feeling so ungrounded, and then you get on to the thing and then it feels like it's going this way, and then it feels like it's going this way. It's even worse on rollerblades for those of you who've tried that, but you just completely feel like things are just not stable and things are just not safe. And, then you fall and then you get up again, then you fall, then you get up again. And eventually, there comes a day where the wind blows through your hair and you feel free and you're on that bicycle and suddenly you go in leaps and bounds forward. So what was this and then became this a little bit forward becomes a seamless exercise where you move forward, the wind through your hair, and you just cannot believe how it could have been so difficult for you. So the muscle of the mind is exactly the same. And so just like in business, when you want to become a very good salesperson and you have to do pitches over and over again, the mind is the same. And this is in my experience. So sometimes if a task seems like way beyond, and you look at all these other people and they look so resilient and they're so positive, and life kicks them and then they get up again, and then you look at these people and you go, how do they do that? Will I ever be there? This is sort of, those people are called superhumans. They are, society look up at them and go like, how do they do it? Things, for example, we get comments on is people would start going international and then they'll go on their first big international trip. And me and Mike get it a lot. How do you guys do it? How do you do international travel? How do you do, how is it possible? And the answer is it's just a bicycle. It's a bicycle you get on and then you fall off, and then you get on and then you fall off, and then you get on. And then one day, you're doing a 24-hour or 30-hour in transit flight, and you look at it and you go, I'm driving this bicycle much smoother than what I did in the beginning. Because now I can't help but think about our Indian trip. We were so tired, but we were freaking traveler rock stars, right? We're in a rhythm. We're in a rhythm, and we don't think about the rhythm anymore. We are travelers together. We don't think about the fact that we're tired. We don't think about the fact that there's not necessarily the food available. We don't think about how we're going to tomorrow. We're in a rhythm. The same way a person get into a rhythm when they get onto a bicycle. That's the same way you work with your mind. So I'm saying that to you to encourage you that this actually means there's nothing you can't do with your mind. There's absolutely, as long as you're willing to practice over and over again, you'll be absolutely fine. So yeah, so before I move on, it's really about finding the right balance for you. So for me, the right balance is not the right balance for you. And so it's a very individual thing, and that is okay. We can't always do what other people say we must do and think it's going to work for us. So take the bits and pieces out of the day that will help you find your balance. In certain areas, I'm probably really, really good. In other areas, I'm really failing, and my practice is not enough. And in certain areas, you are really, really good. And in other areas, you may be failing. So see it like this, a spoke wheel, and focus today on the areas where you think you can improve. So your business is a living entity. It's not a thing. And so because your business is a living entity, it's connected to everything. So your business responds to you. So it's like a tree. You see things above the line there. This, I have a picture for those of you who's not on the visual part, but I have a picture of a tree growing above the soil, and then I have a picture of a tree growing below the soil. So, whatever is going on below the soil, in other words, what's going on in your mind and what's going on in your soul will have a direct effect on the health of your business. It will have a direct effect on the health of your relationship. So you can repeat as many things as possible in business. If the work below the soil is not done, you're going to constantly find yourself in similar situations. So you'll go, why am I having a cash flow problem again? Why am I attracting demanding clients again? Why can I not put boundaries down for people? These things that happens around you is only mirrors. Now, I know you all know that, but it's sometimes really good to just be reminded that anything you're experiencing in your reality at the moment is a mirror reflecting back to you on what's going on in your life. Now, before you completely criticize yourself and put yourself down, there's lots of good things in your life also that's reflective of the incredible work you've already done on yourself. Some of you is going to sit here today and walk into an incredible garden you've created. That shows you the beauty in your mind. Some of you is going to walk out of your house and greet your family and friends and see these beautiful bonds and relationships. That is testimony of what you've created in your mind. Some of you is going to walk to the fridge after this and get a real healthy food out of the fridge. This is because of the work you've done. So your business is only one of those things, but what's going on in your mind has a direct reflection on what happens in your business. So it's all interconnected. So the energy you have when you get up in the morning, the energy you have in your life, the energy you have for yourself, the energy that you have to give other people, the balance that you keep in your life, how positive your mind is, the health of your body, that will reflect in the type of people in your life, the marketing that you're doing, and whether that's working, as well as the cash flow in your business. These things are directly related. So why am I mentioning this? Because realizing this help you actually to do an assessment on yourself. So all you have to do is you have to sit and become a little bit still and get all the distractions out of the way. And that in itself these days is a superpower, to get distractions away. But you just have to sit in stillness. And then you think and you contemplate. I tell you, this is a huge luxury. People don't do that for themselves anymore because you're thinking about your to-do list. I know you're thinking about that to-do list, but we don't do that, right? We sit and we go, I have to do this. Oh, I was in a disagreement with that person. Oh, why does my brother do this? So this mind never becomes still. But if you breathe and the mind becomes still, and you can find a way to be exactly in this moment. You can go, okay, this is really pretty about my life. This is wonderful about my life. This is incredible about my life. I'm grateful for this. But this thing here, I'm not getting right. Then you ask yourself, this thing that I'm not getting right, what is that a reflection of in terms of what's going on below the soil? Is it that I'm not actually positive at all? Is it that I'm telling people I'm positive, but I'm actually the most negative person on the planet because I'm criticizing myself? Is it that I really don't think I'm worthy? Is it that I don't think I'm pretty or handsome? Is it that, my parents always told me I'm useless and they give all the energy to my siblings and not to me, and that's given me an inferiority complex. If you can get to that point where what's going on below the soil gets linked to on what's happening above the soil, then you're actually getting onto that bike. You're actually getting onto something really incredible. And you know, there's resources around you that can help you to bring those things to the surface, but we'll talk about that. So what we're really talking about here is managing your well-being. But a person will never be able to manage their well-being, or these days they call it mental health. I don't know why I don't like the word mental health. It sounds incredibly institutional, but let's talk about well-being, the wellness of your being, right? So we're not just talking about the wellness of your body. We're not just talking about the wellness of your mind. We're talking about the wellness of the entire being. You will never be able to manage your well-being, because what is well-being? You have to really take the concept of well-being and the concept of balance and drill down into the absolute detail. So I like this picture here in front of us. So for those of you who can't see the picture, it's basically a spoke wheel like you would find in a bike. And then the spoke wheel has the tiniest details in it. I see in here all these emoticons. It's literally made of emoticons. I see little snowflakes in there, and I see spirals in there, and I see hearts in there. Now, if you look into the tiniest detail of your well-being, that is where the miracles lie. So you don't say to yourself after the day, I need to look after my well-being, because it means nothing. You don't say to yourself after the day, I need to look after my stress, which is a subcategory of well-being, because it also means nothing. You don't say, I need to look after how quickly I freak out, which is another subcategory of stress, which doesn't mean anything. You drill down to the absolute finest detail, which can be, I need to look after the sugar that I eat because it spikes me, and that will help me specifically with the way I get triggered when people actually say things to me and I overreact, and it causes lots of trouble for me in my life. That is super, super specific, and there's something very specific you can do about that. And the start of doing something about that is to start cutting out sugar so that you can create a system that's as calm as possible, to help you on the psychological process. So, and in order to achieve this level of detail, you have to be still, you have to be in the very now moment, and you have to be able to observe what's going on around you, because it will lead you within. That's why I am so obsessed, well, actually with everything in my life, but obsessed with signs and symbols, because signs and symbols are those first arrows. So you may sit now there in your garden, and Landi said I must become still, and now you're going, okay, but I'm thinking of this and I'm thinking of that, and you're not getting your mind still. And then you start reflecting on the flowers in front of you, and that is an indication of beauty, and that's an indication of blooming. And so you allow your external environment to give you clues on what's going on inside your internal environment. I tell you, if you're sitting in your external environment and all you can see beauty in that moment, you're doing pretty well. You're doing really, really well. But for me, it's all about intention. If your intention is to look better after your well-being, and if you sit in an environment, it will present to you what you need to know at that very given moment. And then you go and find that thing. What I see when I work with a person on their mindset is, it's not changing the entire spoke wheel that causes massive transformation in people. It's finding that little snowflake, or that little piece of crumb, or little piece of detail, and changing that. And then changing that is almost like a mini key, and that key and opens the next thing and opens the next thing and opens the next thing. It's sometimes as simple as finding a quote. And that quote, just repeating it in your mind over and over again, make an incredible difference. So the first thing you want to go do after today is go and find that little crumb, that little thing that if you're going to pull on that string, you're going to have more things coming out, and then it's going to become more and more and more and more, and that leads you on a path of exactly where your transformation needs to happen in order for you to reach the level you want to. Because that's the beauty about Circle of Excellence, right? We all are forever students. We're forever students. You know, I can honestly tell you, I don't think I've worked ever with one or had a relationship with one Circle of Excellence member that goes, you know, I've arrived. I know everything now, so I can't be taught anymore. Whatever. If that's you, you're in a very, very, very dangerous place. In fact, we need to call the ambulance. That's how dangerous the place is that you're in, because you've actually reached a point where you now go, you know, you've arrived and no one can teach you anything. Whatever. It's super, super, super dangerous. So don't ever go there. Okay, so now we talk about the wellness coaches, and then I want to get to the piece of content I really want to share. But you know, you can't go at it alone. There has to be external ring of steel people to help you with your mind. Now, many of you on this call as a Circle of Excellence member, we are very, very happy to dig into your mind and help you with stuff. You know, you don't have to suffer. You don't have to go at it all alone. You know, if you want to have a call with me or a call with Mike, or, you know, each other, help each other, you know, form little groups and help each other and check in with each other on your mindsets or whatever. Or maybe you just want to send a voice note and say, hi, Landi, you know, I just want your view on this. This is something I'm struggling with. You know, I eat chocolate like a rock star every night. I want to sort of try and get out of that pattern. Do you have any tips on how I can do that? Philippe, I just saw Philippe smile. I'm not saying you're a chocolate addict, but there was a bit of a guilty smile there. But we all have our things. We all have our guilty pleasures. We all have our obsessions. We all have our stuff in the past we can't get out. We all have our comparisons. We all have our future projections. We have these things going on for us. And so in certain areas you've done very well, but in certain areas you're struggling. Look for help. You know, there's as many wellness coaches and resources to help you out there as the type of things you get onto a typing thing, whatever you call it. That's why I put it here for you. So you can literally go for K, or let's make it easy, an M, and you'll find a mindset coach, right? You can go for C and you'll find a culture coach. You know, you can go for E and you'll find an esoteric coach. You can go for P and you'll find a freaking, you know, Pilates coach. We now in the coaching world, and you know, there's so much free material online. You don't really have to go and book someone. You can YouTube it. You can YouTube a coach. You can literally, with the help of YouTube and TikTok and all those things, have an entire ring of steel of coaches around you. But you're not going to know who to employ for free unless you actually know what it is that you need. So it takes us back to the spokes wheel again. You know, it takes us back to, again, understanding what do you need. And let's say after today you have a proper conversation with yourself and you say, okay, the number one thing I actually need at the moment, and here's a tip, it's usually the stuff that's top of mind, right? Let's say one of the number one things you need at the moment is that you're sitting here, you're going, okay, I want to lose more weight. I want to lose more weight. I want to focus on my fitness. And I'm really, you know, the way I'm criticizing myself is next level. You know, people don't know that, but I get up in the morning, I berate myself. I order a meal, I berate myself. I go and I speak and I berate myself. I'm just constantly harsh on myself. So now you've identified a weight loss coach, you've identified a fitness coach, and you've identified self-criticism coach. You go on YouTube. And guess what you do? Every single morning before your day start, you listen to a video on weight loss, you listen to a video on fitness, you listen to a video on self-criticism. You don't have to do anything right now. You're just starting with a type of self-hypnosis. You're just starting to embody slowly but surely another being, another way of being. And so many times where this changes go wrong is the change is too overwhelming for us. You go, I'll never be able to do it. I've never been able to do it in the past. I always fail. Why should I even try? It's because you are not sensitive to your resistance to change and you want to see change overnight. And that is not practical. It's not going to happen. So let's say, for example, you want to be a minimalist, just start listening to the videos. Just start listening. So, but here is the secret sauce. You have to make space for this in your day. It's not good enough to do it once a week because it's not going to sink in because the repetition is not violent enough. You know, change is not a gentle thing. Change is the aggressive, violent thing. That's why we don't like it, right? So look at a seed when it's about to force itself through the soil and become a sprout. It takes an incredible amount of aggression, takes an incredible amount of willpower. You know, when you look at the element of wood, you hear the sound of shouting. It's the same sound than when you're standing in the gym, Chris, and you go, ah, you know, you lifting that weight and you're going, I can't do that. What do you do to get that weight above your head? You shout, you use sound, you use aggression. So change is the same. It's very, very aggressive. It's very harsh. And so because of that, you have to push, 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 push daily. Otherwise, that change is not going to happen. You have to push through the fear. You have to shout. And so by listening to things over and over and over again, you are forcing yourself through this way of being into a new way of being. So it looks like, you know, when we see a flower open, you go, oh, look how gentle the change is. Look how the flower opened. But you weren't there when the seed had to crack through that hard exterior and become a sprout. That's where the real transformation happens. When you see a flower open gently, that's the result of the real transformation. If you were going and if you were having a conversation with a caterpillar right now, they'll tell you the same thing. They'll say to you, look, getting out of that freaking cocoon wasn't the easiest thing, you know? Wasn't really cool to be in the soup, but breaking through it. I don't know how many of you have seen actually a butterfly break through a cocoon. I mean, it's silk. It's one of the toughest things on this planet. Do you know how tough it must be for them to use those little new, you know, dainty fingers that they got and break through a cocoon? So you see, unless you're willing to break through, and unless you're willing to use repetition, which is one of your most powerful tools, it's not going to happen. So rather than steering away from the change, start putting the stuff in your mind, you know, and that allows yourself in a repetitive way to get used to the new you, because that's what we're all seeking, really. It's a new identity, the identity of the updated version, the updated mind, the more powerful mind, the more resilient mind. So let's look at resilience and resilience resources that can really help you. So I've always loved the compass. I think it's a very, very powerful tool because for me, it looks at us from the 4 directions. It looks at us from all angles. You know, we're not just spirit, we're also physical, we're also emotional, we're also mental. We're all those aspects in one, which makes us complex, which makes us dynamic, and which gives us lots of layers. That's why I love to use plants in these analogies, because of what happens below the soil, because of the roots, because of the foundations, because of the way we grow, because of the way we sprout, because of the way we bear fruit and flower and whatever. But none of these changes will happen in our minds unless we become really aware, that we literally are in the center of all this dynamic things happening around us, and we are at the center of all these layers, and we are at the center of all these things. I mean, gosh, you know, we're talking about wellness today as part of your Ring of Steel, but I cannot encourage you enough to go and get this book. It was recommended to me by Ali Mooney, and I just finished it. And I said to Mike when I finished the book, I said to him, this book has profoundly changed who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. It's profound. The other book that I found close to this was Alchemist. Alchemist is still my biggest one, but this has profoundly changed me. And I said to Mike, I can't tell you yet the result of how it's going to change me. Is going to come out later, but it's called The Choice by Dr. Edith Eger. She was a Holocaust victim. And for some reason, I've always sort of avoided the stories around the Holocaust and what happened there, whatever. But this is profound. It was profound for me. And I'm not going to be a party pooper here and tell you what happens in the book or whatever, but I can tell you that the book is called The Choice because of the incredible power we have in the choices we make and how we view life. So if you're sitting here today and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and you're sick and tired of the tricks your mind plays with you, I really want to recommend that you go and read that book. So we have choices, you know, we have a choice on how well we want our mental state to be. We have choices on how we want our physical state to be. We have choices on how we want our emotional state to be, and we have choices on how we want to dance with the unknown, which for me is the spiritual part, because very few people really know what's going on there. We always guess. So the spiritual part for me is always the unknown, the we're wondering about things, the mystery, whatever. Now, you're probably not going to achieve well-being if you only focus on one of these areas. And that really is what balance is for me, you know. Balance is really to have an awareness of all of these areas. The moment you know, favor one of these areas over another area, then you fall out of balance. And falling out of balance means falling off the bike. And I mean, none of us here on this call have to be, you know, a clinical psychologist or a coach to recognize what it looks like when someone's falling off their bike, right? You can see those people a mile away. I mean, you see it in yourself, but you don't always admit it to yourself, or you don't want to always admit it to other people. But we all know what it feels like to, you know, physically sit with your, you know, physically sit with your face in the dirt. You know, we all know what it feels like to experience your body and go, I'm not healthy, right? I'm actually not healthy at the moment. Or, you know, to look at your tube around your stomach. My mom called it her anaconda because she calls it an anaconda because she says it wraps all the way around her body. It says it's a tube at the front, it's a tube at the side, it's a tube at the back. Now, we all know what it feels like when we have a tube, right? We all know what it feels like to have an anaconda and not want that anaconda, you know? We all know what it feels like when you've got a very, very bad flu and your body's just not recovering. We all know what it feels like when, you know, you've eaten something that is not accommodating with you and, you know, you spend your whole day on the toilet swearing at yourself for making that choice, you know? Shazar, India, right? Need I say more? You know, we all know what it feels like not having a body that's as strong as we want it to be. You know, we all know what it feels like when you have a body that brings out rashes and symptoms and pain in order to communicate with you, and then you hear the communication, but you don't want to hear it. So you just go and swallow more painkillers or stuff because you're cutting the communication off. You don't want to make those changes, right? So physical wellness. One of the biggest lessons I think I've learned of recent years and that I'm in the process of learning is that one of the quickest paths to getting access to spiritual gifts, spiritual power, spiritual love, accessing that level of love is through the body. It's a big epiphany for me. It's like, you know, I guess I'm making the transition from pure vanity, meaning I've always just wanted to have a certain body for vanity purposes, to realizing working with your body gives you access to other worlds, give you access to information, give you access to treasures within your mental state that that I didn't know exist. So it's an incredible journey. So it's not just about vanity. Do you remember that movie where I think who said in that movie? Oh, it was a movie about a person who has to defend the devil in court, and then he's on the staircase, and then he says, "Vanity, my favorite sin." I'll never forget it. It really can capture you. But when I realized that working with your body has nothing to do with vanity, but has to do with accessing certain states of mind and accessing certain parts of yourself that you've forgotten about. It changed the way I saw food, exercise, well-being, all those things. I really wish people will teach us these things in school. Honestly, I think it can be such a different experience if we are sat down as young children and people actually, someone takes the time to have a table in front of us and go, right, here's good food choices, here's not so good food choices, there's bad food choices. The mere fact that we're not taught that in school blows my mind. So, but anyway, so that would be looking after your physical state. So if any of these things feel to you off, that's probably one of the areas you need to focus. And not just there, but the subcategories of that. So pick something specific. Pick your hearing, you know, pick your failing eyes, pick your hair, you know, that's going. Pick something and start there. Otherwise, the process becomes too overwhelming, right? Then we need to look after our mental state. You know, for me, the mental state is such a general statement. So I'm going to today call it your internal chatter. Honestly, what that what are you telling yourself? If you can find a way to catch yourself out, what's the stuff you're actually telling yourself? Do you, and you know what? I notice with myself that I'm most aware of what I tell myself when I wake up in the morning. The rest of the day become too distracting. You get too distracted with your to-do list, whatever. What are you telling yourself when you wake up? Do you tell yourself you're a loser? Do you go back into the previous way and tell yourself, why did I do that? Do you tell yourself that you are not good enough because you didn't finish your to-do list? Do you tell yourself that your bank account is still empty and therefore you're not worthy? Do you tell yourself that your wife or your husband or your partner, whatever, hates you because of a certain way you look or act? What are you telling yourself first thing in the morning? And if you're worried that you're going to forget about this question, go, ladies, get your lipstick out. Guys, if you use lipstick, it's all good. For the guys, go and get yourself a highlighter or something like that. Go and write on your bathroom mirror, what am I telling myself? So that you catch yourself early in the morning. Early in the morning, you're going to catch yourself because that internal chatter changes everything. It sets the stage for the entire day. If you feel useless in your mind and you tell yourself constantly you're useless, your entire day is going to serve to confirm that belief. But if you don't catch yourself in the morning, then you're going to forget this conversation because why? Because you're constantly getting distracted. We're now in the era of incredible distraction. It takes almost a mind of steel in this time and age not to constantly be distracted, because what this environment is giving us now, and with AI it's getting worse, is constant entertainment. Constant entertainment. So if you can find a way for you to come back to focus on what you're telling yourself and changing it without getting distracted with all of these things around you, which is much more nicer to focus on because it's fun and it's playful. You know, me and Mike on Facebook can look for hours at animals. I can't tell you how long we can sit next to each other, and then Mike go, oh, look at the mammals, ha ha ha, then we laugh. Then I go, oh, look at what this elephant is doing to the dog, ha ha ha, then we laugh. Oh, look what this one is doing to this one, ha ha ha. Before you see it, an hour or two has passed. There's nothing wrong with that. That's play. But this amount of distraction is just going to fill your day, fill stuff all the time. Whereas with mental health, with mental well-being, with the well-being of your mind, you want to take things out. Because if you don't take things out, you can't see. You see, if you have too many things in your mind and you're too distracted by things, you basically constantly turning your head around like an owl. So you're doing this. Dum, 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 dum. What you're meant to do is go with it. And that can't happen if you're constantly distracted. It's not going to happen. You're just going to turn around all the time, turn around. You're literally running around yourself all the time. You're in the middle and you're running. You're doing this, you're doing that, you're taking action here, you're doing this, you're doing that. You never reach yourself. And you know where people reach themselves is in that last half an hour before they die, because then they're forced to be still. What happens in that final hours is the ultimate self-reflection. Don't wait for that point in order to crack your code. So that is what mental wellness really is about, is to focus on the right thing. And what you need to be focusing on is you, and why you're not at the level you want to be, and more important, why you're not feeling in a certain way, because those things come directly through from your thoughts, the feelings you feel. If you want to feel joy, the fact that you're not feeling joy is because of what's going on in your mind, because of what your thoughts is going on. The fact that you're not feeling light is because of what's going on in your mind. The fact that you're not feeling happy is because of what's going on in your mind. The fact that you feel discontent, this all comes from your mind. And that's what mental well-being is about, right? So let's go down south now to emotional well-being, right? For me, emotional well-being really has a lot to do with how your emotions go up and down. It's this ebb and flow energy, right? So what you want to achieve with your emotions is you want to achieve a more stable situation. So I'm not saying you can't be ecstatically happy. It's great, but if you want to find peace within you, which is really what emotional mastery is about, is you want to get out of this incredibly highs and lows. And I know a lot of people call it, bipolar and whatever, but, if that's bipolar, then we're probably all bipolar, because that's the human state, up and down, up and down. But this up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, really steals our peace. And what I have found is that it can be incredibly dangerous to go really down, really, really down there. But I've also found that it can sometimes be really dangerous to go very high as well. I'll give you an example. You find out you found out you've just won the lotto, right? Or you found out that you're the winner of an award or whatever. Look, you're gonna really go up, but what goes up has to come down. So to have those ecstatic moments, to take those ecstatic moments too serious, is setting yourself up for failure. So I'm not talking about happiness in your emotional health. I'm talking about peace. And if you want to achieve peace, you will try and master these incredible up and down energy a little bit more. How do you master that? When you just want an award, you remind yourself that what goes up must come down. So you recognize that this is a fleeting moment. You recognize that this moment of happiness or ecstasy or euphoria is a fleeting moment. If you don't sort of spoil it a little bit for yourself in the moment, the coming down is really, really tough. And I see it with a lot of people who's been in love, won awards, whatever. They overemphasize those highs, and so when the lows come, they can't deal with it. In your emotional well-being, you want to achieve a state of peace. So ways to do that is to really become aware of what triggers you, and to create a environment in which these triggers are not so incredibly high and incredibly low. Now, you can achieve a lot. I mean, you are so full of chemical. Your body has so many elements and so many chemicals and so many things in it that makes these triggers happen. Even, the best mindset in the world will not help you. If you are drinking your Coca-Cola every day and your blood sugar is getting spiked all the time, it's very, very difficult for you to try and outdo that with a mindset. And so that's just constantly going to make you feel like a failure, because you think your mindset is not strong enough. Meantime, you are a chemical cocktail that's made for disaster. It's easy to trigger you because your body is going to react without your consent. Your body's going to become your boss. Your body's going to tell you when it trigger, who it gets triggered by, whatever. So you obviously want to go and create homeostasis in your body if you want to actually work on the emotional part of you. Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for failures. But the emotional well-being part starts by seeing what triggers you. I mean, the stuff that makes you angry is probably your best masters. If someone comes to you and says something to you, and I know, there's stuff that can trigger me so much that I go actually red in my neck, and then my cheeks becomes like red because of how angry I get because of the thing. That's a master. That's a master teacher, because that thing that made you so unhappy is a direct arrow into the parts of your emotions that you've not resolved, and therefore you get triggered on it. And I think, I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. If you do not look into your emotional well-being, it's going to be very easy for other people to manipulate you. So not only will you not have peace, you won't have inner peace because you are literally between extreme euphoria or extreme unhappiness. You don't enter that mid state, right? That's going to be your life. It's almost like a heartbeat that's out of rhythm, as opposed to, well, we don't want to flatline and you're dead, but you really want to create a place where you're just experiencing peace. But then on top of that, if you don't learn to get that ups and downs a bit more stabilized, people will manipulate you. People will easily influence you. People, and I'm going to give you a classic example, because a person who is just or is currently going through a divorce, or is just going through a divorce, or is just past a divorce, you see these incredible highs and lows in them. If you've been through a divorce, or you are currently going through a divorce, or you understand what I mean. You go through these incredible highs and incredible lows because your emotions is out of rhythm. The one moment you are deeply sad for your loss, and the next moment you are with friends laughing hysterically. And you think in that moment, I'm so happy I made this decision because I'm feeling so happy. And then you come home and the next morning it's this massive crash again. You get this in periods of grief as well, this very highs, very lows. And then what you want to try and achieve with that is to get to a place where the emotion starts on both sides, to get a bit more stabilized and a bit more like this, bloom, 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 like water flowing over pebbles, which give you that peace and serenity. So go and look at the things that really upset you and go and sort those things out. Again, we're looking for the finest detail. We want you to name that thing. We want you to let that anger take you so deep into the detail that you, for example, get to the point where you go, right, I can now see that the thing that's festering, the thing that's rotting within me, has everything to do with the fact that I wore braces as a child. I can now see how that's how specific I want you to be. And then you can say to yourself, this wearing braces as a child made me feel like this. You have to name that feeling. It made me feel, let's say you call it shame. You find it. Then you go to YouTube and you find someone who's going to help you unravel your shame. Or you have a conversation with someone who's going to help you unravel your shame. You can't say, I want to be more emotionally intelligent, or I'm going to master my emotions. It doesn't mean anything. I really want you to be specific. Then we're moving now to the other part of the compass, which is the West. This is probably the most misunderstood, the spiritual part. This is probably the most mysterious. This is probably the most difficult for people to grasp because it doesn't have substance around it. It doesn't have anything around it that we necessarily can see. We have to 100% rely on our intuition. We have to rely on our faith. We have to, try and unravel the signs and the symbols. It's very, if you can say, non-left brain. It's literally walking with something over your eyes in the darkness and feeling your way around. So if you're a person who's, scared to death of death, for example, or you have these incredible fears about what lie on the other side. For some of you, it would be literally waking up in the evening and you're so scared of the dark because it's represented by the unknown. And maybe you're someone who, any form of change freaks you out big time, whatever. Then you probably need to focus a bit more on the spiritual part. So I find in my experience that people who's uncomfortable with diving into spirituality, and this is a huge generalization, it's just based on my experience with the people in our community that I've worked with, people who's very, very afraid of, let's say what lies on the other side, or spiritual exploration, or even some people even afraid, for some of you it will be religion. I'm talking about everything that lies in the category of the unknown, right? Are usually people who is more resistant to change than others, and are usually people who really love to have control. It's about control. It's about losing control, because the moment you play in the spiritual arena, you have to surrender. You have to lose control, and you have to hand the things you have power over to an unknown source. You have to hand it over. And it doesn't matter whether you call yourself spiritual or religious or faithful. The whole concept of the West, the whole concept of spiritual is these are not things you have control over. So you get two people, you get two types of people. You get people who believe that our destiny is completely in our hands. And then you get people who believe we've got a master plan and it's already worked out for us. And I believe there's a place somewhere in the middle of that. So there's a part of you that, can control probably how you respond to things and how you see life. And then there's a part of you, just look back on your life so far with things you can't control. So it's good to have a good midway. So if you're wondering about your spiritual well-being, go and have a conversation with yourself about the extent to which you want to control things. And it makes me think of that quote. Maybe one of you can help me who invented that quote, but it's something like, God grant me the wisdom to recognize the things I can. Yeah, I can see you saying it there, Shazar. Maybe Saja, maybe if you want to just pop it there for us in the chat. This is the serenity prayer. That's what it's called. So for me, the serenity prayer, thank you so much, Arja, sits actually here in the spiritual part, is to say, I need to recognize in my life what I can control, what I can't control, and understand the difference between the two. Now, that is me. I want to give a little bit of space here for us to actually take some questions, or maybe someone here wants to contribute something. But some recommended activities would be to study and pick at least 2 resilience resources to support you, and get yourself a wellbeing diary and start recording your wellness interventions on a daily basis. I want to make it this time around actually much more practical for you. And I want to say, look, just start with these videos. Recognize where's the areas where you need to invest more in your well-being, and then repetitively, before your day start getting these things into your head and into your being or whatever, and so that the change is at least kick-started. It's not something that lies in the future that's impossible. It's something practical and it's actually starting. So anyone, I'm jumping off my soapbox now. Anyone with a question or a dilemma or an idea, I would love to hear your input. I see Dennis says not too much hair for him nowadays. Dennis, doesn't matter. It's a unique style. I'm myself married to someone with that unique style. Anyone want to contribute to say something? Oh, Saja, did you mean you were trying to learn to ride rollerblades on? Yes. No, please jump in, Saja.
I'll jump in and just say I really appreciated the following the breadcrumbs. That was lovely because it gave me a sense of, okay, it's just that little thing, and then the next little thing, and then the next little thing. So thank you so much. That's really, really great.
You're so welcome.
I'm off to find the little things.
That's the thing, it's the little things. I think if we look at the big things, gosh, we first we make it impossible for us to achieve because it's too big. And also we become even more resistant to change. I believe we're resistant to change to protect us. We're not resistant to change because we're bad people. We're resistant to change because otherwise we wouldn't be automated, and our brain wouldn't be automating us, and it gives us a level of safety and security. But as nature, we have to evolve, and it's only breadcrumbs. You only have to start with one little breadcrumb. Saja's asking if I were trying to learn to ride with rollerblades. Yes, Saja, it was a dismal failure. And I remember doing that in my Joburg years. And I basically got on the rollerblades and I fell in the middle of the entrance of the complex where I was staying, and I couldn't get up because every time I tried to get up, the rollerblades was going underneath me. And then at some stage, there was 5 cars trying to get out of the gate, and no one could get in and no one could get out because I was spinning like a crazy person on the floor in front of it. And actually a total stranger, had to come out and help me up and rollerblade me to my front door so I could just get out of everyone's way. So, yep, that one failed. I see, Ian, my recent inner work has attracted many new clients this year. I can't tell you how much I've thought of you today talking. I mean, your inner work, Ian, is next level, right? Even when I was looking at the last photo shoot, where you and Therese was standing there, and you know your energy and stuff. Gosh, I don't know even where you've been. Honestly, I think you have dimensions within you that you honestly, it's not like I looked at your first metamorphosis and went, oh, Ian has arrived. You just constantly keep on arriving. You just can't. It's like you're just constantly showing this face, then that face, and that face. It's actually quite remarkable to witness from the outside, really. No, you're the authority, Philippe. I love what you've given us here. Your alpha and omega. Do you maybe just want to quickly tell us about it? I don't know if it's just me, but I can't hear you. Can the rest hear you?
Is that better now?
There you are.
Okay. Because I've been commenting a bit, so I can't remember which one you're referring to.
Now, it's something that it's different colors, and it looks like a tube of sorts, and then it has ultimate
Yeah, that's the
consciousness
scale of, I'm not sure exactly how they call that, like the vibration scale. Like if you live in fear, you're at the bottom, if you're enlightened, you're at the top. And that was commenting on Ian's state of mind that attracted clients to him. So
Right. Isn't this phenomenal? Look at it. Shame is at the very bottom. Wow. Enlightenment is at the very top. And I mean, when you look at this, you can see why the higher your emotions vibrate, the more you'll be able to manifest. You can see as the lower your emotions vibrate. But now, we're in a society where we tell ourselves, if we appear enlightened online, we must be enlightened. Therefore, we should be able to manifest. But we all know that lots of our times is spent there at the bottom. That's the reality. That's the reality for all of us, is that we always choosing the white wolf or choosing the black wolf, and the level at which you want to vibrate is going to depend what level you manifest at. And it's not just a decision. It's not that you just go, oh, today I'm going to feel fantastic, whatever. You really have to go deep and find the source of those emotions, the source of why you're feeling so miserable and whatever. So it's almost like automatic for you to vibrate at those higher levels. Dennis, thank you for your little ambulance there. Oh, yes, the choice. Oh, thank you. Gosh, I can't tell you this book. I don't think I've cried so much in a book at all. It's just this woman's mindset is, I don't care, you can be the best mindset coach in the world. What this woman's lived through it's just, even in hell, hope can flower. It's incredible. I'll tell you, I'll describe this book. It brought me to my knees. That's probably the way I'll describe it. I don't think anything humbled me so much in my life that I've read in this book. It's just absolutely crazy. Please interrupt if you want me to stop talking and you want to say something. Oh, Dennis, we disconnect our TV and Apple TV many months ago as it was distracting. Yeah, no, I mean, all those things. And you get so many now. You have Amazon TV and Netflix TV. And you know what? With AI, we're now going to see more of these things coming out. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, AI is not, the problem is not AI. The problem is us. The way I view technology is that the technology that's coming out now, for me, is only a reflection of the technology that exists within us. So technology is evolving because our ability to be psychic is evolving. That's all. So AI is just showing us what's starting to happen in the human race. So you should be very excited that AI is coming out, because it's telling you that, our technology is getting upgraded. We're doing a quantum leap. What we can do with our psyche is more powerful than ever before. That's what it's showing you. But because of that, you're going to have to exert more self-discipline. So it's not AI that's the problem. It's you playing with AI that's the problem. It's the way you use AI that's the problem. It's how you get distracted by AI that's the problem. It's not Wi-Fi that's the problem, or computers or TV or internet. It's the way you interact with it. It's your inability to say, no, I'm not going to let it distract me. Or it's your inability to allow that to rise fear in you. And that's the problem. So you're the one who have to improve. Technology is not the one that needs to go away. You see, it's based on the spiritual law, as within, so without. So it's a test. So, if you're going to get distracted by it or or whatever, then you need to work with your distractions and focus more. Philippe, stable emotions is equanimity. Is that a word? A state of mental balance and even-mindedness. I love that word. Bert says, Bert, why do I call you Bert if your name's Bert? Not running after positive thoughts or emotions, not resisting negative thoughts or emotions, even keel. Absolutely. That was quite a big epiphany for me, Bert, when I realized that actually. And that it's not about chasing moments of euphoria. It's about peace, which means you're actually balancing the two out, right? And shadow work is useful in times of emotional turmoil. Saja, absolutely. And you know, there's so many people who don't know what shadow work is. Do you maybe want to enlighten everyone here?
Oh, Landi. Shadow work is about owning the depths and the things that you want to resist and the things that you don't want to see, and the things that are not okay with you, and to be able to integrate those things that you normally would wish to hold at bay, because as we know, what we resist persists. So it is about it's about embracing the whole of you.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? What you resist persists. So it's just going to persist, and as long as it's persisting, it's actually going to dominate you. So go and look up shadow work if you've not heard about it. I'm sure many of you have, but it's very, very powerful work to do. I see Philippe is getting distracted by his printer. And who's been hanging out with Merlin, Saja? Who's hanging out with Merlin?
One guess. Morpheus.
Absolutely. Merlin energy is actually a very, very strong energy. So I'm going to leave you with this. I want to leave you with there's hope. Thank you for your statement about the fact that, she's used another analogy. It's not just breadcrumbs we have to follow. It's seeing a staircase and just taking the first step, and starting with the very, very small things. Because if I say to you, you have to go after today's call and change your mindset, I mean, I'm actually asking you to do the impossible. If I go after today's call and I say to you, look, just improve, just do stuff that's going to improve your eyesight, you go, okay, well, that's specific. I can go and look for that. Or I can say to you, hey, just go and sit for the next, for the next 2 months, just once a day, go and look into a flame and stare at it for an hour. It's all you have to do, and let's see where that leads you. Those type of things is much more easier to follow. It's much more easier to do. So I want to thank you all for showing up. I want to thank you all for your brilliant mindsets. Don't go after this call and just think of the things you have to change. Celebrate how far you've come. Celebrate how healthy your mind is already. Celebrate how strong your compass is already. I mean, no one goes through life without picking up on resilience tools. So we love you. We're very proud of you. We're very happy that we're all a soul family. And I just hope you have a fantastic, fantastic week ahead. Lots of lovies. Bye.